We've all been hurt and felt like we can't love again. Well, all this month, author and pastor Jentezen Franklin is joining us with his brand new book, Love Like You've Never Been Hurt. He's going to challenge us to hope, healing, and the power of an open heart. Is your heart ready? I think mine is. Thanks for joining us today, Jentezen.
Thank you, Maggie. It's so great to be with you.
Tell me about the motivation behind this book.
Well, I think that there's a real problem in so many families, and so many people in their lives are estranged from people that they love and they care about. And it all goes back to forgiveness. It all goes back to being offended or hurt. It's a matter of time before somebody that you love, that you care about, hurts you and offends you. We can get along with people as long as we're in agreement. But what do you do when contention comes, when there comes something that you don't agree on? That's when you really have to learn how to love like you've never been hurt. And we just saw that there was a tremendous, tremendous need in people's lives to get over offense. And beyond that, something happened in our family about 9 years ago that birthed this message in my own life and in my own heart.
Yeah, you talk about very openly about the struggles you had raising your daughters and some challenges. Tell us about that.
Well, my wife Sharice, we've been married 30 years. This will be our 31st year in September. We have 5 kids, 4 beautiful daughters and 1 son, and we're empty nesters now, and 2 grandkids, by the way. But we have a beautiful and wonderful family, and I think that sometimes people see ministers and families and their pastors' families and think, well, if we could just be just like them, everything would be wonderful. It must be wonderful to be married to the preacher, and he's a godly man.
Because you guys are perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what people think.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter who you are in the 21st century. It's a matter of time before trouble comes to your house. Jesus taught about the foundation that you build on, either sand or rock, and He warned that the storm comes to both homes. If you build your home on Christ, that doesn't make you immune from trouble. And so, my oldest daughter, she had been an amazing student and all of that, and she went off to college and made some bad choices, got around the wrong people. One thing led to another. Before we knew it, she had gone into a very dark place. And I'll never forget the Wednesday afternoon, my wife came in. We knew something was wrong. We knew we couldn't quite, but we finally heard some reports that were extremely troubling to us. And my wife came in on a Wednesday afternoon. There's something about a mother's intuition. Yeah. And she said, "Jentezen, I'm going to get our daughter from university." And I was supposed to speak in about 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And she said, "You can take care of the church, or you can help me with the family." And of course, I chose to go with her. We drove for about 3 hours in the car. And when we got there, when my daughter saw my mother, or her mother, she broke. She began to weep. We didn't even go by the dorm and pick the stuff up. We got her out of there, and the ride back was, it's hard to put into words, as she began to tell us things that the enemy had just deceived her and taken her down a dark path that could have destroyed her life. And we were broken. We were angry as parents. We were angry. We were hurt. We felt, how could you go in these directions? And it was troubling. We thought, well, we've got the worst behind us, let's begin to heal. But when we got home, we probably as parents overreacted, really clamped down. And that almost, I think, probably pushed her even greater into what the enemy wanted her to go into. And to make a long story short, she ran away. And one Saturday, we got a text from her that she had married a man, and it began a 3-year process in our home of, it felt like the lights went out. It just felt like the atmosphere of our home turned into one of conflict. Every conversation at the table was about the problems that were going on in the family. The other siblings began to resent their sister because she dominated it so affected me. I'll never forget, Maggie, in one of the conversations, one of her sisters was just angry with her. And they were having an argument back and forth, and she said, I hate you for what you've done. You changed my dad.
Wow.
He's not the same.
Wow.
You know, and that's when I began to realize that something was happening to me. My heart was becoming hard. My heart was becoming bitter and unforgiving. Because it's one thing if somebody does one thing, but when it's done over and over and over, that's the issue that many people, well, we feel like we have a right to just cut people off. I'm done with you, you know. But we've got to learn to love like we've never been hurt. And it's in the middle of all of that, this saying, this phrase that many believe came from a man by the name of Satchel Paige. You may not know who he is, but he was an African-American, the first African-American baseball pitcher who made it into the big leagues. And he would pitch, and he was breaking new ground, breaking the glass ceiling of racism in America in sports. And particularly in the area of pitching. And they would the racists would hurl insults, and he was the one who said to an interviewer, well, what are you going to do about those comments? And he said, I'm going to love like I've never been hurt. And when I read that story, it touched me. And I felt the Lord say, it's time for you to love like you've never been hurt.
Wow. Well, we are going to return with more from Pastor Jentezen and get down into practically how do we love like we've never been hurt. Stay with us. We'll be right back.